Good evening, Josh. Brenda, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just letting people in, so just be patient. Bree, how you doing? All right, welcome everybody. Turn your cameras on. I'd appreciate it. Let's get engaged. As you guys know, cameras aren't on. Focus is probably not there, right? Okay, we're going to be a little interactive tonight. We're going to go ahead and get rolling. I think I got everybody written down. Okay, I know I went through this before, but who is Be Young?
Brindy, but I don't know why it won't change from Be Young, so I give up. I think it's just
Got it.
connected to my
Okay.
school email.
Yep, I got it, Brindy. Okay, so we got Brindy, Josh, Bree, Christy, Crystal. Yep, okay, we're ready to roll. Just writing everybody down. Okay, all right, welcome guys tonight. We'll probably be about 25 minutes here, and but let's just do a little bit of housekeeping first of all. We finished the first month, and I want to congratulate everybody for doing an amazing job of not only turning your stuff in pretty much on time. Everybody made it by the deadline, but some really outstanding pieces of work there across the board. So good job. Appreciate that big time. Do you guys all know if your SSPs have turned in their information sheet? If you don't know, please check with them. Okay, and if you need a refresher link, because all they have to do, there's a link that I've sent out. All they really have to do is go to that link and type in the information needed, and then get it submitted. Because if they don't do that, I don't think they get paid. So you want to make sure that you take care of that and remind them to do it, okay? All right, we are entering month 2, pretty much the same as month 1. ISV hours, your lesson plan. Your lesson plan is the first thing that's going to be due, and that will be due by the end of next week. That'll be the second week. The third week is your video observation with annotations. And then the last week, of course, is your running record and your ISV hours. Okay. Have you guys had a chance to go through and check my comments on your graded assignments? Give me a thumbs up or down. Thumbs up if you check the comments. Good. Okay. If you ever have any questions on those, feel free to ask. You guys realize this is a pass-fail class. You have to get 82% to pass, but the grade goes in as pass or fail. It's not an A, B, or C. So whether you get 82% of everything or 100% doesn't really matter on the grade, okay? And the other thing I wanted to point out, when you guys do your observation videos and I go through and award points on the TPEs, that point value doesn't mean anything, okay? Because if there's something I didn't observe, you're not graded down for that, but I don't award any points for that. So all you really want to do is see improvement. Okay, you're just looking for improvement. So hopefully the point value that you get the first month will be, improved if you're doing those same TPEs. Okay, it's kind of a weird little thing there, but don't worry about that. I think I explained that in the text. Are you guys getting my text? Good. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna ask you guys for a little interaction tonight. Okay. So I want you to, that's why I want your cameras on. I want you to get involved, turn on your mic, get involved in the chat. So the first thing I want you guys to do is put in the chat, what do you think are the 2 most important things for you to have success with not only you in the class, but your kids? Rank number 1 and number 2. Just give me 2 words. Most important things in your class. And I'll go to my chat here. Let's see what you guys are writing. Okay, class management report. There is no wrong answer. Okay, give me two of them. A lot of you give me one, give me two. Class management, connection, class management, engagement. I like that, Josh. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, class management, you guys all got. You know that's number one. I preach that every time. If you don't have class management, you can't do anything. Engaging the kids is really, really important. I put that as number two. Coming from experience, I taught chemistry for many years, and I can remember having what I thought was a great lecture. And I asked some students afterwards, what'd you think of it? Oh, Mr. Lux, I'm sorry. I'll be real honest. I was daydreaming. I checked out. I wasn't listening to anything. So if you're not engaging the kids during your lesson, then I think you're missing out. Unfortunately, it's easier just to talk, have great class control, lecture on the board, see them all writing notes, but you have no idea whether they're connecting with you. But that's an easy way to go. So let's get some feedback. How many of you, let's rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being engagement is at the highest level possible. In fact, it's out of control. Well, it feels out of control, like I never moved through my lesson. And a 1 is all I do is talk the whole period, and they never talk at all. Rate yourself on a scale. Where are you with class engagement? Be honest. In the chat. Most of you are probably going to say on a 6 or 7, right? That's usually the common answer. Okay. Yeah, Bree says 7. Josh 5. Christy 7. I know everybody's here. We got one here. Okay. I think good relations rapport. There's a lack of engagement. Students don't learn from teachers that don't like engagement. Bree, why don't you expand on that comment a little bit? Do you mind? Turn on your mic.
It wasn't Bree, it was me that said that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just figured, like, when I first started, we have this teacher, he tries to be really engaging with the students, but he's also kind of, I would almost say mean. He's almost like a bully. I don't get along with him. But anyways, the students, I hear them say it all the time that they don't learn from teachers they don't like. So I made sure to build like good relationships with them early on in the year and show that I actually care about them. And then when I try to do engagement activities with them, it seems to be much more successful, even if it's the same type of activities that the other guys are doing. So that's why I put it before engagement, I guess, just because you can't have one without the other.
Sure, sure. So are you saying it's all in the delivery or what you do before?
I think both, but I think that you will damage your engagement if you damage your relationships.
Yes. Okay. All right, Brendy. Yeah, I agree. How do you create good relationships?
I do it by just showing interest in my students. I have a really small class too, to be fair. My biology class only has, I think, 15 students in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy for me to connect with all of them, even at some point during a whole lesson, just to check in with them, like how was the volleyball game, interests, like, and the student survey in the beginning helps too. But at the beginning of the school year, I've spent like a whole week doing like growth mindset activities, kind of diving into their personality and stuff and kind of uplifting them. And it seems to pay off throughout the last 2 years that I've done that.
Okay, let's talk about that because some teachers might argue, well, if I spend a week just doing stuff like this, I'm not teaching them anything and I'm going to get behind. What do you say about that?
I would argue that it's still worth it because the growth mindset will benefit them through every single lesson throughout the year. And my students come from a very socioeconomically disadvantaged area. So it's, in my opinion, imperative that that type of care and uplifting type of lesson is there for them, because they don't come from good home lives. So that might be the only positivity that they have in their entire day.
Okay, so when you are, I totally agree with you, totally. I think it's worth every second of it. I think it's worth slowing down a lesson and doing something that's going to get them engaged in your class, because I think the turnaround, you'll catch up later because it'll move much smoother. They have more respect for you. You're going to be able to actually have a more effective classroom. So spending that time, I would totally agree. So when you say you get to know them, expand on that a little bit.
Just sometimes in lessons, I relate a lot of things to my own hobbies, because I'm young enough that, like, Pokemon is an odd similarity between students, sports, things like that. So when I explain certain concepts, I've put like evolution in terms of Pokemon evolution. And next thing I know, kids are all excited about that. And that's what I mean by getting to know them, is finding what interests they have, or speaking one-on-one with them when you sit down and like you're going over an assignment with them. You just pick up on conversations in the room sometimes too before class even starts. Just little things like that. I mean, our school's so small that I go to all their sports games. I even sometimes hang out with their clubs and stuff like that. So it's easy for me at a small school to build those relationships versus someone at a really big school, I think, too, to be fair.
Now, question for the rest of you. How many of you get involved with your students outside of the class, whether it be going to a sporting event, running to them in the hall and saying something? Anybody else want to expand on this? Yeah, Christy, did you raise your hand?
I did. I have kids that are similar ages to the students in my classes, so it's really easy for me to see them outside the classroom. And we live in a really small town, so one of the only things to do is to go to the high school football games. So I'll see a huge number of students at that game, and I try to make it to their sporting events and their music stuff too when I can.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm surprised every time I see them how excited they are to see their teacher out of the classroom.
Perfect. And again, just like what Brittany was saying, that's going to build connections with your kids. That's going to pay off. Don't you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody else want to share what they do, if they do anything outside of the class? Brenda or Josh? Josh?
Yeah, I started last year, but I teach 4th through 8th grade. So some of the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, they like hanging out in my room because it's a small school. So their only option for lunch is to hang out in the gym. And some of them, being of that age, it's not, too cool to be in the gym for lunch. So they come in and hang out in my room. But I actually learn a lot from listening to them and talking to them during that time, because they'll say things that they won't bring up in class. So at least they have, that comfortability of the classroom to fall back on.
Excellent. I was just going to ask if any of you opened up your rooms during lunch or before school, like what Josh just mentioned, because that's a great way to connect. You'd be surprised how many kids will want to come hang out in your room. So again, that's a really good way just to be there and listen to them. Anybody else? Brenda, you have any comments, any thoughts?
Did you say my name? Sorry.
Oh, Brenda.
Bree?
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bree. Yes, go ahead, Bree.
I'm an advisor for Builders Club. So that's like a on-campus club that builds like leadership and community service. So I do that, and it's open to all 8th graders. So I teach 70% of the 8th graders, but I get to know some of the other students that maybe I wouldn't have in the classroom by the club. And then I volunteer at Homework Club. I'm not actually one of the faculty members assigned to it, but they don't have any science teachers in there. And right now it's science fair for us. And so I make it a priority to go in every day, offer help to 6th, 7th, and eighth graders any science support they need. And then we're starting a club on campus where our local college will come on and do science demonstrations, bring like their 3D printer and their drones and things so that kids can get some of the STEM activity. So we're establishing that club. So they know all things science, count me in for.
Good job, Bree. You know what? You guys are all young enough too that the kids don't feel like there's a big generation gap there. So they're going to, you know, be more apt to relate and open up to you guys, which makes teaching more effective. Okay. Good job, all of you guys on that. My next question is, when you guys plan a lesson, okay, that looks like we got Olga coming in. Hi, Olga. Welcome. Olga's bouncing in. Turn your camera on, Olga. Okay, when you guys plan a lesson, let me ask you this. Do you feel confident enough to adapt that lesson on the fly? Go ahead and turn on your camera, Olga. How many of you are confident enough to make a change on the lesson on the fly? If, for example, you just sense that there's kids not connecting. Okay, so you're teaching this lesson and you can tell some kids are connecting and some aren't. Anybody want to share an experience, or maybe you've been in that situation, on how you would handle that? Would you go with the lesson and catch the kids up later? Would you make an adjustment during the lesson? Would you stop the lesson and make an adjustment? Can anybody share an experience maybe they had on any of that situation? Don't raise your hand all at once. Josh?
I was just thinking about like my 8th grade class this year. We're talking a lot about physics, and there was a point in one of the lessons towards the end, I noticed like we're trying to get to the point where they realize that motion's caused by unbalanced forces, and I could see it in their eyes, like a lot of them weren't making that connection. So as soon as they came in the next day, I just took a break because I noticed they really, for some reason, are obsessed with arm wrestling. So I gave them a chance to come up and we just arm wrestled for like 10 minutes so I could explain that with one of their interests instead of like, lecturing them or just giving them a sim lab where they practice it. They could actually see it with something that hopefully was an interest for them. But it wasn't like a quick adaptation. It was just something I thought about after the lesson was over.
You know what that is, Josh? That's having confidence in your lesson and being able to make an adaptation like that. Realize what you were teaching wasn't quite working, and you created something that they could totally relate to. I could totally see, just based on what little you mentioned there, how arm wrestling would kind of bring that back in and make them understand it. Perfect. Anybody else have something that they made an adjustment on, were able to change any part of their lesson, either in that lesson or maybe the next day?
So we were going over like characteristics of a graph and what types of graph are appropriate for like scientific purposes. And I was asking the students like X and Y axes, and some of them were confused on that. And so I had to scaffold a little bit and then use gestures and motions. So I didn't originally plan on doing much of that, but when I asked the question, I didn't get good feedback. I made a point to add a slide, and we kind of did a graph together and labeled everything so that they could hear it. We could do it with motions, and then they had it in writing as well.
That's perfect, Bree. Again, the value of engaging your kids is assessment. When you engage one of your students, you're getting feedback whether they get it or not. That's an assessment right there. So I'm kind of circling back to my first topic that I went over, which is TPE 3.4, is how do you engage your kids to gain assessment? Because waiting for the exam really doesn't do much. It just tells us the results. We're not interested in Result, we're interested in the journey. So that's perfect. That's perfect. I love that, Bree. And Josh, what you did is perfect. Anybody else want to share anything on that? Olga.
Normally, like when we're doing plate motions, sometimes they didn't understand like the vocabulary. So Generation Genius, they had video clips, 5-minute clips, and then review the vocab, or Bill Nye, and just like the little clips. That way they have a visual with the vocabulary. So that's something that when they don't understand it, or hand gestures, like I would put diversion, convert, like that way they would use everything that I could. That way they understood it.
I love that, Olga. That brings a point to mind. We're entertainers, folks. We're entertainers, believe it or not. Think of put yourself in a position. Would you rather listen to somebody explain something just monotone voice and stand there in front of you? You're going to be put to sleep. Okay. A lot of people might argue it's not my job for them to learn. Yes, it is. It is your job to get the message across, and your body language, how you speak, things you do with your hands, moving around the classroom. Get out of that little shell of being a frozen person. And I don't think any of you do it, because I've watched your videos. Very impressive. But that's what we're talking about. Okay. We are there to engage these kids and make it interesting enough so they will learn it. Keep in mind, their brains are not developed enough to really dive in and have a desire for learning. Let me ask you guys this. Were you ever in a college class and thought back, God, I really love this class. I'm really connecting with it. Why didn't I do that in high school? God, I missed so much in high school. I was just a blob. I just went to class. But when you got into college, you found it a new thirst for learning. Any of you experienced that? I know I did. So how can you create that experience that you did with your kids now? And it's how you deliver. How many of you can think back to your favorite teacher you've ever had, grade school, high school? Do you guys have one or two that really stood out? My guess is they had great classroom control and they were engaging. Okay. And what was already brought up earlier about how you engage these kids is really important. What you say to them without making them feel bad. Okay. It's really crucial. You never want to say anything that is demeaning to a child, because that will take them out of their safe space and they will never engage again. I can remember being a sophomore in high school, and I was kind of a shy kid. I raised my hand, and you know what my teacher said to me? Mr. Lux, put your hand down. You have body odor. You think I ever raised my hand again? Not in that class. I mean, so choose your words carefully and always be positive and make them feel comfortable that they can safely engage with any answer, right or wrong. And I think, that was the point being brought out earlier by Bree there. And, we want to think about that and learn from it. Okay. So, anybody have a teacher, and I'm going to finish off this topic, that you had back in the past that was terrible? You hated their class. Okay. Think about what made that class terrible. Anybody want to share an experience of what made a class terrible in the past? I know it might be painful, but let's bring something out.
You know how you're talking about the monotone thing earlier?
Mm-hmm.
I had this math teacher and he sounded just like the Bueller guy.
Yep.
He also was really scary. Like he had anger issues. And I remember him like breaking a clipboard over his knee and stuff. Like he had anger problems. It was not a safe space. I didn't feel safe. He wasn't, wouldn't say he was very friendly. And so when he would come behind me and be like, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good." I was not doing good, but I was too scared to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to go to a person like that and, confide anything or build any type of relationship because you're scared to death. Anybody else have an experience they want to share?
My 8th grade science teacher, I got a low A on a test.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him, like, what did I do wrong? I wanted, I want to fix it so I do better next time. And he said, you should be happy. Girls aren't usually good at science and you got an A. So now I teach at the middle school he retired from.
Holy cow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So, it all comes in what the bottom line through this whole PLC meeting today was the importance of building relationships with your kids. And that comes with great class control. You all know that. And you all have great control that I've seen in the videos. And then engaging the kids and the importance of engaging them. Okay. It's worth taking the time to set up a pattern of engaging with the kids, whether it's beginning of any period, greeting them when they come in, setting up your room during lunch, before school, going out to their activities, making them aware that you care. Because if they know you care, they're going to want to learn for you. Okay, and what greater motivation is that? That they want to learn from you. And I think I shared in my last PLC meeting, I had a student who was late every day. I shared this with you guys, didn't I? Yes, no? Okay, he was late every day, 10 minutes every day. He was the most on-time late kid I've ever had in my life because he was always late, but always the exact amount. So, I finally asked him, I go, Jose, can you maybe set your alarm 10 minutes earlier? You're consistently late, but set your alarm 10 minutes earlier and you'll be here on time. And he looks at me, he goes, Mr. Lux, I live in a hotel and I take the bus from across town to get to school. Right there, I knew why he was late. He was on a bus schedule. But the fact that I took time to engage with him and talk with him about that and then tell him it's okay, because I don't care who you are. If you're late to a class, that brings anxiety. You might be the toughest person on the outside. It's cool that I'm late. Being late is uncomfortable. Okay, because you're walking in, everybody looks. I made it okay for him because I understood why he was. And his grade went from a D to an A just because we had that engagement. Okay, so that's really important. And as brand new teachers, I think you guys are doing a fabulous job of doing this, engaging. I see it in your activities, but more than anything, I see the mindset that you guys all realize the value that this will have in creating motivated students that will never forget you and how much you changed and impacted their lives. And you're going to hear during your career, kids are going to come back and tell you this, but you might only hear from a few of them. But that doesn't mean there's not 100 out there, 200 out there, 300 out there that just never got around to telling you how you impacted their lives. So this is what I mean by don't just go through the motions of a teacher and be one of those crappy teachers that you all have. Be one of those teachers, and I think you guys are well on your way, impactful. That look at that kitty. Free, I love it. Be one of those teachers that impacts them for the rest of their lives. And this is how you do it. Okay. So that's it for tonight. That's the main focus I wanted to leave with you guys. Continue to engage, continue with great classroom control. However you engage them, just do it. Okay. It pays off. Anybody have any questions or anything before we close up for tonight? Christy.
Yeah, you said you emailed out the SST link that, I think that's the right acronym, that we're supposed to give our mentor teacher.
Mhm.
Uh,
I can send it again.
yes, please.
Yeah, you know, I'll just send out an email, just reminding everybody, you know, whether you did it or not, I'll send that out. I'm also going to send this out as a recording. Because if you can't make one of these PLC meetings, you know, because you get points for these, I'm not going to hang it over your head unless you always miss them. But I know life comes up. So if you ever miss a PLC meeting, just let me know ahead of time. And then you can always listen to the recording and just email me back a couple of bullet points from it, so I know you did. So I'm always going to send out the recording as well, but I'll send that out, Christy, the link, and just check with your SSPs, and also check with them on the peer coaching form that once a month. I've gotten a few of them, but not everybody. It's something we don't really talk about a whole lot, but it's important that they communicate with me through peer coaching how it's going with you guys. Okay, so ask them that, but I'll send that out.
Okay, and then I'm not, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm kind of late to the game, so, because I'm getting a month late start. The lesson plan is due next week, and that I can find that form on the course site.
Yes, there is a template you want to use, and it's make sure you don't use the Cal TPE template. I'll send that out as well. There's a link to it that you can go. I don't want to send the actual lesson plan because you may not be able to download it, but there is a link. In fact, if you guys go, let me just show you right here. If some of you got to go right ahead, but I'm going to share my screen, okay, and show you where to get that. Okay.
You have a night.
Okay. Student resources. Candidate resources. There's your handbook. Lesson plan template. Ah, okay, lesson plan template. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, you go to here, click on that. Lesson plan templates are here. Okay.
Okay.
And obviously, you want to make sure you get the one for your class. I do have a few of 650 A's and B's with kind of a mixture here. So make sure you do it. And also make sure you get the template for the right month. Because the first 3 months use one template and the last month uses another. So, you know, just go through here and you can download these. So these where your lesson plans are. Now, also, since we're all here, the rubric. Make sure when you guys are writing your lesson plan, you have the rubric right next to you. And I want your lesson plan to be in line with the rubric. Because number one, it prepares you for the cycle TPEs, which you're going to do in 650B. That's how they want their lesson plan written, right? In the same format with the rubric. And I think it's because they're reading a lot of these and they want to make sure that they don't have to jump all around your lesson plan to find certain things. So make sure you follow the rubric as you write your lesson plan. Have them side by side so you can see the rubric needs this, lesson plan, it goes in there. Rubric needs this, lesson plan goes in there. And they will match up on the template. Also, I encourage you to use bullet points for the parts of your lesson plan that can get very wordy. You know, the planning stage, the things you're doing, just use bullet points because that's what the cycle TPE graders want to see in it. Okay. So again, this is where you're going to get the rubrics. Okay. Let's see if that link is on here for the, I don't see it. For the SSP worksheet, I'll just send that out. Okay, but the link I'm going to send you will direct you right to this too. I'll put this in. Okay.
And I have one more question.
Yes.
Do I have to wait to get feedback on the lesson plan to then teach that lesson plan and video it?
Well, ideally, yes. When I get on these pretty quick. Okay. So if they're due next week, if you get it into me by Friday, that gives you a lot of time, it gives you the weekend to kind of look it over. That's why I like them on Friday, but if you can't, you can't. The sooner you get to me, the quicker I can get the feedback. Okay. It helps if you send me a text when you upload your lesson plan, because I'll go, oh, good, Christy, you got a lesson plan. I'll go to my computer, bang it right out. Okay. So to answer your question, in a real perfect world, yes. But if it doesn't work out that way, that's okay. Life gets in the way. But I do try to grade these things very quickly before you do your video clip. Okay.
Okay.
And when I grade these things, if you guys notice, I download the rubric into the comments section. Okay. So when I'm grading your lesson plan, I have in the comments the rubric, and I'm going through and I'm highlighting areas in green that were in your lesson plan. And if I highlight it in red, means it's not in your lesson plan, and you don't want to have those red things in. I also put sticky notes on your lesson plan to make, specific comments. So make sure you go through your lesson plan and look for those yellow sticky notes, which I put on there, and I'll have their comments. Okay. Also on the video observation, when you guys are doing your annotation, make sure when you make a comment, you're annotating it, put in there which TPE you're covering. Don't put them all in there, because generally you're only doing one TPE at a time. So in a perfect world, when you're doing your annotations and you make you write a comment, I think you can actually click on one of the colored icons that correspond to the TPE that you're doing at that specific time. Okay. How many annotations do you have to have? I'm not going to give you a number of too many or too few. Just do what's right. You don't have to load it up where every 30 seconds you're making a comment, but you also don't want to have a 30-minute video where maybe you only have 3 annotations. So, just go with what feels right. I'll tell you if I need more.
I have a
Any other
question.
questions?
For the lesson plan, can we have similar stuff from last lesson plan to this lesson plan?
Sure. There's nothing wrong with building a lesson plan and making it better. There's nothing wrong with doing the same lesson a different day that came out better. You know what I mean? Maybe your class, whatever fits what your class is doing to make you a better teacher. So if you have to go back and redo a lesson plan, make some adjustments, and if you're worried about that counts, of course it'll count for you. Okay.
Okay. Also for my lesson plan, so it's going to be a different, it's a different topic now since I moved on from potential energy, and so now it'll be a different video and topic and all that.
Yeah, and ideally they will be. All of them will be different topics. Okay, because you're doing these 1 month apart, so I'm assuming that you guys are moving through your curriculum that you have different topics within each month. Okay, so again, just in generally speaking, we're going to keep everything consistent here. The lesson plans are due the weekend of the 2nd week. The video is due the weekend of the 3rd week. And the TPE running record is due the weekend of the 4th week, along with your ISV hours. Okay. If you're going to be late on any of those, I would just appreciate a text or an email just to let me know, because I know life gets in the way. Especially you 650B people, because you are doing the cycle TPEs and those get very hectic. So I'll work with you, but let's just make sure we communicate. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Olga?
Yes, just to clarify, so this Friday that's coming up is going to be the first lesson plan that it's due?
Well, we're still in the 1st week, so you have till next Friday.
Next Friday, okay.
Yeah, 2nd week, so that would be a week from Friday.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And we always keep our PLC meetings the 1st Thursday of the month. Awesome. You guys are doing great. I love your smiling faces. I love your enthusiasm. I think your kids probably love you, and really appreciate your efforts in there. And just keep rolling, man. This can be the greatest profession or the worst. There's no in betweens. You're either great at it or you hate it. I think you guys are all going to be great teachers. That's what I see. So keep it up. Thanks for coming. I'll stick here for 30 seconds or so if anybody wants to ask me an individual question, but otherwise you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
I did send you a text message just so you had my number because I haven't received any text messages from you.
Oh, hold on. Okay. Pull it up here. You haven't got any of them. Okay, so, all right, Bree, so I have 661-654-1364.
Perfect.
Okay, I apologize for that. I'll make sure you're on the text chain. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I was just gonna stick around because I have surgery coming up next Wednesday.
Oh my.
Very nervous.
Yeah, we talked about that, huh?
Yeah, so I was just letting you know that it is happening. So I will be taking time off work from the 11th, and then I will be back on the 26th. 6th. So if I can hustle and kind of like quickly pull something together, ideally I would like to get a lesson plan to you tomorrow, but
Okay.
I'm a little worried about what shape it'll be in if I hustle that hard. But then at least I could have Monday or Tuesday to teach that lesson before I leave for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. And don't worry about if it's not perfect. Okay, God knows lesson plans are never perfect. So just roll with what you can do.
Okay. Yeah, and I just wanted to check in with you too, because I know you reached out because I haven't gotten my stuff and I am working on it right now. And I will have time this weekend and I'll have 2 weeks off where I'm just on the couch healing. So I plan on jamming on your stuff and jamming on seminar.
Yeah, no
hopefully-
problem. You know, we talked and I hope I didn't pressure you when I sent that. It was just kind of a gentle, okay, just to let you know. But
Yeah.
we had that full discussion on an individual Zoom, and you know, I understand your situation perfectly. So yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, awesome. No, I'm stressed. I know I need to like get my booty in gear. It's just there's so much stuff going on. I'm just glad homecoming week's over with and I don't have to do the advising stuff as hardcore as I was, because that was just a lot.
Yeah,
So hopefully you will see stuff trickling in this weekend.
no problem. You changed your hair color, huh?
I did, yeah. Yep, I went for more dark red for fall.
What did your kids say about that? Did they go, "Oh, Miss Payne, what did you do?"
Oh my God, they always comment on my hair. They're high school students. I have one girl that copied my old hairstyle, and I told her, I'm like, you're the whole reason I had to switch it up because we can't match. And she gets all sassy, but yeah, they like it. They're silly.
That's awesome.
They're really cool kids. I forget that most of the other students in here have, it seems like they teach elementary.
Yeah, there's a number of them for sure.
Okay. Well, that was all I wanted to tell you. I don't want to hold you here any longer than
Okay.
you want to be here, but
All
just
right.
letting you know, I am doing stuff, I promise.
Yeah, I know you are, and if you ever want to run anything by me, just reach out and we can always chat like we did
Okay.
before.
Yep, I'll reach out to you if I need anything. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a
Okay,
good
have
night.
a good night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.